Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I'm actually pretty agitated. So, as I've mentioned every other time that I've reviewed anything Star Trek related, I'm just kind of into Star Trek. My dad watched the original series, in repeats all when I was growing up. I was never really that into it. I liked the movies okay. I liked TNG a lot. I liked DS9. I hated Voyager. I actually like the frat Trek, Kelvin timeline movies okay, except for I hate Star Trek Beyond. Discovery, I liked most of season one, liked least of season two, and then the short treks from season one were generally okay. Oh my gosh, so bad, so bad, and you know, hyperbole. You're always in dangerous territory when you use hyperbole. But I would say this is the worst written Star Trek script ever. I haven't seen all of it. I've seen all of TNG, most of DS9. Technically, I've seen every episode of the original series like 10 times, but that's just like me being in the living room while my dad watches it and me like just playing with my GI Joes. like I just it's the start the original Enterprise just so obviously looks like spray painted wood. I can never get over that ever. There is not one metallic looking surface on all of it. But anyway, so the short treks, they started as a way for CBS to get more money from Netflix, and then Netflix was like, no. And now they continued, I'm guessing kind of out of sort of a corporate inertia. Like, oh, we didn't care about the Netflix money? I mean, I guess it's cool, but whatever. So what they do is they take existing sets, existing props, existing uniforms, and maybe add like one or two other things. So this one is called The Trouble with Edward, based obviously on probably the most normie famous episode of the original series, The Trouble with Tribbles, which honestly, that was like the only one I ever paid attention to when it was playing. And I still didn't like it that much. So this one is, how they have those phrases that are kind of popular and then they disappear? Remember when people used to say self-own? I remember that was really popular like 4 or 5 years ago. So self-own is when you do something that basically, owns yourself, embarrasses yourself, makes yourself look like a fool. And what this is it was supposed to be a very current year slam dunk. We're going to make fun of toxic masculinity. We're going to make fun of white male ego fragility. We're going to Yas Queen up with a teeny tiny Hispanic female captain. And what it ends up being is one of the most glaring self-owns I've ever seen with SJW. So it starts off as a science officer we never met. By the way, two of these short treks have shown Captain Pike and the Enterprise that we all really, really, really want to see a series about. I am thinking it might happen. Especially with CBS Viacom going back together. I was shocked. I thought Anson Mount was never going to come back to Star Trek. He seemed pretty pissed about the experience, but he's back. He's an awesome captain. Everyone likes him. Even though the short trek last week was not good, everyone likes number one and this current version of Spock. So they introduce a teeny tiny, although she's not that short. She's 5'4". I thought she was like 5 foot. I guess Anson Mount is taller than I thought he was. So she's a science officer who's taking over a science vessel. So 34 years old is about the right age to get a captaincy, even in the modern military. But since this is woke Trek, you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And the way that you pump up a Hispanic female captain is, what is it? What is it? What is it? There's a dumb, white, middle-aged white guy. And he's stupid. Let's make him look like an idiot. So she comes aboard and she's having a meeting. And she's getting reports from all the science officers. And then there's this guy named Edward. And he's stupid and he stutters and he doesn't know how to work his tablet. And then who helps him fix the tablet? Who helps you? I'm not even going to say it. I just want you to say, describe the person who helps him with his tablet while making a stink eye at him and then shaking their head like, what an idiot. So it goes on that there's a planet on the edge of Klingon space. They're requesting some help. So, it's, general, Starfleet help. Let's make sure you got clean water, good food, clean atmosphere, all the things. So he has an idea to supplement the, whatever you call it, food base, whatever that's called. People need to eat food. So he's like, they got these things called tribbles. Now we can, they're basically meat with fur on the outside. So we could, breed these and we could use them as a protein source. To which the young captain seems to immediately just be against the idea. She's like, protein and meat as a part of a diet? What are you talking about? So she asks if they are intelligent. She doesn't say sentient. She says intelligent. So, sentience is basically like a human, or I think, do dolphins and gorillas get bound to be sentient? Okay, let's just say humans. Someone who has a society, can speak languages and things like that. A dog can be intelligent. Actually, we don't eat dogs, do we? So, but she doesn't say sentience, which is weird, because that's the common, term to use. So then he's like, well, I don't know if they're sentient. They don't have faces. They're just basically just fur and meat. So she's like, okay. So she basically just says like, yeah, she bluffs him off. Not really rudely, but it's kind of weird since even though he's like a weird guy, his idea isn't terrible. You're taking a species that's effectively a living chicken nugget, and you're saying, what if we fed this to people as food? It's something definitely to be studied. Then she does something even weirder. She reassigns him to climatology. Now you might think, is on a science vessel, isn't there a scientist who already is a climatologist? I would think that definitely. And then when he says, I'm a whatever biologist, she's like, well, we're all scientists. Again, this is such an indictment of SJWs, their stranglehold on pop culture, and all just the dumb tropes they use. They always talk about science, but they talk about science in this airhead bimbo way. It's like, there's like a Facebook group that's called like I effing love science, and people used to make fun of it. They would say, a picture of an asteroid is not science. But this is made for people who think that it is. The idea of just switching someone, to climatology, it's like, that's stupid. So then they have a scene where he decides to go ahead with it anyway. He's going to prove. So they show a scene where the captain is congratulating that person who helped him with his tablet again. Before you watch it, just describe that person. I guarantee you are correct. So then he's jealous, so he's like, well, I'm going to do my experiment. I know it's good, and they're all going to congratulate me. So then the next day, he gets called into the captain's office, and she's all smirky, and she's like, someone sent anonymous messages saying that I'm dumb and unfit for command. And it's really embarrassing because, Edward is a Starfleet officer. He should be held to certain standards. But here's where it gets so much worse. We find that even though Edward is odd, he might have some sort of cluster B personality disorder, he's about as mature as his captain, which is not very. She basically very curtly dismisses him. It says he's going to be kicked off of the ship. Now, I had a couple of questions how this anonymous reporting system works in Starfleet, because one would assume that it's anonymous so that you can basically be a whistleblower. Now, if you're abusing the whistleblowing, app, then that probably would get you hemmed up. But I doubt it just goes. I doubt you get to report your boss, and then they use process of elimination to determine who reported them and say, I'm kicking you off my ship. I don't think that works. And then what happens is she allows herself to get into a very childish, I'm talking like an elementary school childish tit for tat argument. It's embarrassing and it's completely unprofessional. And then he leaves, and then the tribbles multiply, except for unlike Kirk, who could handle the situation, this Yas Queen woke captain is completely incompetent in every way. First of all, she has no ability to, science, how are these living chicken nuggets multiplying? Where's the mass coming from? Where's the protein coming from? Are they drawing it? Are they, drawing it from the air? Are they drawing it from the bulkheads? Where's it coming from? And then you find out whatever way they're, magically reproducing, and you stop that. No. She hands 8 science officers some phaser rifles and says, just go shoot them. Of course, this hilariously does not work until it fills the entire ship. At one point, she's yelling at Edward, and then he's starting to basically explain something, and she claps her hands right in his face. If you were never in the military, it might be hard to explain how blazingly unprofessional that was for an officer to clap their hands like that's like a puppy or like a 4-year-old child, but it was ridiculous. And it just shows the immaturity of the captain. So what happens? The tribbles multiply, the ship is taken over, and then while they're getting to, shuttle to escape, the captain is not the last one on the shuttle. She didn't have keep track of the crew, a very small crew, it seems like. And then Edward is back. He's a crazy person. He's angry that she called him dumb. I mean, she didn't even really do that. And then she's like, I didn't call you dumb. You called me dumb. Again, this is like a argument. This isn't even a 4th grader argument. This is like a 2nd grader argument. And then she just watches as Edward is crushed to death by the tribbles. She then leaves, and then she's held for a tribunal. Very, very, she deserves it. She absolutely lost control of the ship. She allowed an experiment that any other captain would have easily, been able to determine a way to deal with it. And she loses the ship. She loses one of her very small crew. And then the big stinger, with a defiant look, she says, they're like, what is your excuse? And then she's like, Edward was an idiot. So this was supposed to be, they saw this as an easy slam dunk on toxic masculinity, fragile male egos. But what they instead created is the worst captain we've ever seen in any single version of Star Trek. Even worse than Lorca, who was a villain, but he could still motivate people. He was like weirdly into like Stamets, like being insubordinate to him, and actually motivated him to achieve a scientific breakthrough. So a Hispanic woman is now in canon, as SJWs like to say, in canon as the worst Starfleet captain in the history of Starfleet. We're talking Kelvin timeline, the original timeline, whatever this probably melded timeline we're going to get into once the re-merger is complete. So congratulations, SJWs. You went for an easy slam dunk, and then you broke all of your teeth on the floor because you didn't tie your shoes. So anyway, thanks for watching. And before I was so rudely interrupted by this short trek existing, I'm going to go back to watching Boyka Undisputed. Thanks for watching. Bye.